Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous. And we are doing a bigger deal today, one from Axial Market, our new favorite source of bigger deals. It is a helicopter private transportation business. So picture shuttling people from buildings in Manhattan to the Hamptons. This business is doing almost 20 million in sales and about 6 million in EBITDA. It was fun to talk with Michael about it. It's me and Michael on this episode. So I hope you guys really enjoy this episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.
Hey, Michael here. Want to talk to you about today's sponsor for the episode, which is CloudBookkeeping.com. So CloudBookkeeping is actually run by my neighbor, Charlie. So I've met him in person and can attest that he's a real human being and a good person. And what CloudBookkeeping does is offer a full suite of bookkeeping services, all in the cloud, for you around QuickBooks and other technologies that you're using as a small business owner. So if you're interested in getting the bookkeeping part of running a business off of your plate and focusing on running your business, Charlie and his team are one to call. They can put together a bunch of other stuff in terms of helping you manage and grow your business besides just bookkeeping, sophisticated reporting, definitely helping you get your QuickBooks online set up in the right way, and a number of things around payroll as well. So definitely know them and recommend them. If you want to find out more about Cloud Bookkeeping, you can go to their website at cloudbookkeeping.com. Reach out to Charlie. I know many of you have, and see if he can help you make your running your business easier and more fun by letting them help with a lot of the bookkeeping solutions. So, and when you call, mention this podcast. It would help us and help Charlie know that we're supporting him as well. So thanks a bunch, and cloudbookkeeping.com as the sponsor for today's episode.
Michael, I am pumped for this episode of Acquisitions Anonymous because it involves a dream I have always had, which is to fly a helicopter.
Well, look, I'm excited about this because this morning we swapped around a note from a listener who was like, we want you guys to do more small deals. So we've responded in the truest Acquisitions Anonymous way possible. We're doing a deal that does 8 million in revenue. So we just like, okay, you want a small deal? Okay, well, here's a big one. You're going to like it. No, we'll try to do some small ones going for it. But this comes from our friends at the Axial, who have turned into like a great opportunity for us to look at some bigger stuff, which I love. This particular deal has 2.6 million in EBITDA.
Yes. Look, you're looking at 2021.
Oh yeah.
It's significantly bigger. The growth in this thing is intense.
All right, let me pull this up and I will read it. Does that work?
That works. So this one is from Axial. I don't know if our listeners know about Axial. If you're kind of in the SMB world, you're like biz buy sell and you schlep it out with brokers and you can find great deal flow that way. We've been doing more on Axial lately because they have bigger deals and candidly sometimes better ones.
Yep.
Like, I mean, how many garbage sideways, weird stuff we looked at oddball, on this pod, but like if it makes it to Axial, it's like kind of like been scrubbed a little bit. Like the bad ones don't make it to Axial. Doesn't seem.
Like the neighborhood bar and grill and random small exurb does not make it to Axial. It does make it to biz buy sell.
Right. Because Axial usually has they've got a real intermediary. They usually have an investment bank if they're on Axial versus a broker on biz buy sell.
100%. Oh, and by the way, if you hear any background noise, it's because I'm at my house for reasons, but the when your air conditioning goes out in the middle of the summer in San Antonio, it's pretty serious. It's a big deal. So the AC guy is here getting us back down under 80 degrees again inside the house.
So I'm hopeful that your air conditioning is fixed, but this just reminded me of a crazy home maintenance story that I have to tell. That just happened to me. And because it's even tangentially fireworks related. So this blew my mind. So I had to stay home from the office yesterday because the roof guy was coming because there is a leak in our roof and it has been raining and there's water pouring out of my bathroom, into my master bathroom. So roof guy comes and for perspective, we're recording this on July 13th. So it has just been 4th of July, 10 days ago or so. The guy comes back off the roof and he goes, I found what's wrong with your roof. And I go, well, great. Did you fix it? He goes, yes, I fixed it. And I'm not even going to charge you. And I go, what's wrong with it? He goes, I don't think you want to know. Because I don't think you want to know what's wrong with your roof. And I was like, well, now I have to know what's wrong with my roof. And he goes, there is a bullet hole in it.
What?
What
does this have to do with fireworks?
Well, so he goes, there's a bullet hole. He goes, it's the second. He goes, I see it all the time in roof maintenance. He goes, what happens is people fire guns into the air, straight, not straight, because you can't do it perfectly straight up in the air. And those bullets come down.
Yep.
And often, miles from where they were fired. And so a bullet came straight down and put a hole not in the roof, not 15 feet from where I was sleeping. And I read on the internet, the most common day of the year for this is the 4th of July, when people are doing fireworks and they shoot their guns off in the air. So at some point on the night of 4th of July, a bullet came through my roof.
That sucks. Well, and to me, like I did an AMA on the fireworks business during on the day of the 4th of July, as one does when you own a fireworks company. And like people are like, do you think fireworks should be banned? And I was like, actually, it would be a really bad idea because two things happen. People use other stuff as a substitute for fireworks, like shoot guns in the air, that's how you really die. Like that's super dangerous because it's not, it's not like getting a black cat, it's like a totally different thing.
No, so the fatality rate for a regular gunshot is 6 to 8%. The fatality rate of being hit by a fallen bullet is 34% because it always hits you in the head.
And so they either do that, so they replace fireworks with something they can get, so they shoot bullets in the air, or the thing that's even worse than that is they make homemade fireworks, and like those homemade fireworks are not fireworks, they are bombs. And that's when you hear about somebody like there was a deal where there was a big show and somebody brought like a homemade firework to the neighborhood show and killed like a lady and like injured like 9 people. And they're like, oh, it's a fireworks show. No, that was a bomb. Somebody bought a bomb to the neighborhood picnic.
A bomb show.
Yeah. Like, so that's part of why you want like a tightly regulated industry like we have now, which is, look, your options are prohibit them and you're going to end up with people dying like crazy, like that kind of stuff going on. And it's going to be an order of magnitude greater. Or you're going to end up with anyway, it doesn't work. Right. Like, and so fireworks and like other stuff, it's one of those things you just need a tightly regulated. Alcohol is another one just like that. Like you just need a tightly regulated industry. And that's the best thing for society.
I'd have to start making bathtub gin or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what happens when you do that the wrong way? You go blind.
Yeah. You go blind. Exactly.
Yeah. Do you want that?
Exactly.
Like that's why it's tightly regulated. So anyway.
Yeah. But insane bullet hole in my roof. And then the guy texted me later in the week a picture. I don't know. He was like tickled at my shock. Texted me another one. And he said it happens like multiple times a week around 4th of July. Nuts. And I live, by the way, like in a nice neighborhood in the city. Like I do not live in the hood. Like I don't know how this happened. It really freaked me out. So anyway, that's my crazy home maintenance story. We can get back to the deal.
All right. So from Axial, we have the premier Northeast helicopter transportation provider of corporate and private charter and tour. Summary: based in the Northeast U.S., our client is a helicopter transportation company offering corporate and private charter services and tour operations covering the Northeastern U.S. metropolitan corridor. Our client has been in operation for nearly 20 years, launching their initial offering in 2004. The tours cover northeastern cities and historical sites, while the private charter includes destinations like the Hamptons, Atlantic City, Boston, D.C., and Philadelphia, to name a few. The company employs 51 individuals, including 17 pilots, operating a fleet of 6 helicopters. The company enjoys an exceptional operating reputation, which leads its sales efforts with existing clients. The company generates new sales through its website, referrals, and an extensive network of other businesses and vendors such as Blade and TripAdvisor. The company operates in a high barrier to entry industry driven by capital intensity, regulatory policies, and existing firm's reputation. In 2021, they did $8.1 million in revenue and EBITDA of $2.6 million. Their EBITDA margin was 32%. In 2022, their revenue was $18.1 million, and they grew 124% to $4.9 million in EBITDA with a 27% margin. They predict further growth of about 10% per year in 2023 and 2024. The actual numbers are here if you're watching us on YouTube. Otherwise, you can click on the teaser and stuff in the show notes. They want to sell the whole business, or at least most of it. They are located in the Middle Atlantic, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland. and then they're in this type of industry. So, Bill, tell me about your dream.
Wow.
Tell me about your dream of owning a helicopter, flying in a helicopter, or helicopter company.
Okay, so first of all, helicopters are cool, right? Can we all agree helicopters are cool?
They're cool.
Helicopters are awesome. And they are phenomenally convenient.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like it's as close as you can get to a teleporter, essentially, because you can land pretty much exactly where you're going and leave and go exactly where you're going next, etc. Except they're expensive and dangerous as hell. Right? So that, like, I mean, everybody knows Kobe Bryant died tragically in a helicopter accident last year. You know, like, people die in helicopter accidents because there ain't no airbags. You know, I don't know, Michael, how many times have you ridden a helicopter? I'm assuming it's more than zero.
More helicopters than a private plane, actually. I'm still zero for private planes. So if any really rich people here want to hang out with me, here's how to make it happen. Nothing new. By the way, there's a lot of premises around that whole thing that, like, assuming anyone wants to hang out with me, definitely a huge question. But like, I've still, like, I've, never been on a private plane, either corporate life or general. But anyway, I haven't been on a private helicopter like 3-4 times. A lot of the standard, like, honeymoon, go do like a sightseeing helicopter flight in Hawaii type stuff. We've done that kind of thing.
Yep. We did that in Vegas. We went to the Hoover Dam in a private helicopter, and it was awesome.
I drove in a car to the Hoover Dam.
Like cheap. A chump.
I'm so cheap. I'm such a loser.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome. It was not that expensive too, by the way. You left from the Strip in a helicopter, just us, my wife and I, and a pilot. Flew us to the Hoover Dam, flew over Lake Mead and everything, like, saw everything, land in the canyon. They bring out like a picnic and a bottle of champagne, and then take back off, fly down Las Vegas Boulevard, like, see all the stuff up close. It was $1,000.
Yeah, that was my first thought seeing this. Like, I was thinking back over the past couple of weeks, like, several of my bicycling routes and stuff go past little airports with charter operators in them, and it'll be like, helicopter ride, $30. And I was like, $30? I'm not going up in no $30 helicopter. It's like, brain surgeon, 50% off. I was like, I'm not going to that guy. Why am I going to the discount brain surgeon? It's the worst idea ever.
Some of these helicopters, like, you get in and you're like, this is an inverted lawnmower. Like, it's just basically got like a little engine, and it's an upside down lawnmower, and the blades go around.
That's, I went through my personal journey of, should I become a private pilot or not? And the telling moment was, we went up in like a 35-year-old Cessna 172. Like, they had me in the pilot sheet. My knees were basically in my jaw. Totally different if you go up in a Cirrus or something that feels more modern. But like, literally, like, I'm on basically like a couch with wings up in the sky. And the guy's like, okay, hey, watch this. And he just like turns off the engine and pushes it forward. He's like, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not interested in any of this. It was so scary.
It's like, it turns out, like, you don't need like a nuclear reactor to fly through the air. Like, it's pretty simple mechanics, and like a simple engine, and everything else is window dressing, like all the aeronautics and everything. But you can do it manually.
No. All right. So let's go back to this deal.
Okay.
So what is there to like about
by
this?
the way, right? So it went from 8 million in sales in 2021.
Yeah.
Which is post-pandemic, by the way. So what I would love to see is where it was before the pandemic. So in kind of the second pandemic year, 2020 being the first one, they did 8 million. And then in 2022, they did 18 million in revenue. And then in 2023, they are projecting they're going to do 21 million. So whatever the bump was in 2022 appears to be sticky. I mean, it's now July. So this is an up-to-date teaser. So it appears that whatever happened there was sticky. And I got to know, like, what was that?
Yeah.
Did a competitor go out of business? Did they hire a bunch of pilots? Like, what'd they do?
I mean, sometimes you see this and it's like, we got one new huge client. And one of the things that was here was they talked about a network of extensive other businesses and vendors such as Blade and TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor, pretty straightforward. That's Yelp for a Yelp that you don't hate as much. But Blade is an interesting one. So are you familiar with that business?
Semi, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's Uber for helicopter flights. So So there's a thing going on with those types of businesses when they're trying to get started, which is the VCs provide a consumer surplus, which is they underwrite it and make it super cheap. So the market grows and then they dominate the market and then they suddenly raise their prices. That, by the way, was
the rides. Yeah.
Congratulations. I just gave you the entire Uber business plan. It only took $42 billion. But now they have a pretty good business that's generating what?
Big market.
7 or 8 billion in revenue. Yay, way to go, Uber. But Blade is interesting. It would not surprise me if you looked into this and Blade is trying to grow the market and it's gone from 10% of their business to 80% of their business very quickly. And explains why they went from 8.1 million to 18 million in a year, which is incredible growth.
Absolutely. So you think some, JP Morgan Chase or something suddenly got these guys on speed dial?
I would take a look very closely at customer concentration and sources of it. I mean, they sound like they are a standard charter operator, which is like, oh, you can pay us money. What do you need us to do? Type scenario. I would want to understand, why did they go from 8 million to 18 million in revenue in a year? So 124% growth. And then second question is that, why did they think that's sustainable through 2023 and beyond? What's going on here? And if it's all dependent on VC funding, I would be like super worried.
Yeah, if it's all coming from Blade and you find out that Blade's not charging them any fees or something, which is allowing them to keep their prices down, then you got to go, eventually Blade's going to needs to make money, and we're going to have to jack up our prices on Blade, and we might not, be able to capture all that demand. But like on the other hand, if it's Blade and a bunch of other things, maybe there's other platforms, right? You have you don't have the customer concentration risk. If you're just getting new clients all the time, every day, on one hand, you don't have the risk. On the other hand, they're probably all one-time clients, or, they're not like these big sticky corporate contracts where, they stick around for a long time, which is always the catch-22, right? Of a big B2B relationship. Yep. Like, great, JP Morgan Chase flies all of their executives on our charter thing. But what if they stop one day? We're screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's really great. It seems sticky, and you wake up every day and you have guaranteed revenue until you don't.
Yep. So let's talk about the dynamics of running an airline, which is basically what this is. The reason airlines are tough is you have these high fixed costs, and it's very easy for your revenue to go down 10% and your profits to go down 100%. And so that's why you see the airline and all these different folks doing this sort of stuff. And I think this was very similar. Remember the charter airline that we did that was like bringing stuff in from Mexico? I like that business potentially better than this one. But anyway.
Well, why is that business better than this one? They're just using planes and these guys are using helicopters.
So the reason I like that is because of the nature of cargo. And with people as cargo, you fly it when the people want to fly. And typically you have to find the right balance there. And so you have a time supply demand, like melding there, that's difficult. Whereas with cargo, like, does it matter if the cargo gets there at 2 a.m. or does it matter if it gets there at 9 a.m. or 3 p.m.? Like you have better kind of time slicing around that stuff. And the thing I think I also liked better about that business was how they had created a marketplace where they were like doing backhauls from Mexico and vice versa. And so you got more benefits of scale there, because the important thing was, if you're going to fly charter stuff down to Mexico, you need to have some fruit or something to bring back to pay for your flight back. And that makes you very profitable. Whereas something like this is just a straight up charter operation. Like it's going to be much more difficult for you to, not have a bunch of deadheads and stuff like that, as the truckers call it.
Right. Because if you've got two rich dudes, you can't put them in the same helicopter like you can with the freight.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. The other thing, to your point, Michael, about trying to match the supply of pilots and the demand of people who want to ride in a helicopter. They have 17 pilots, but only 6 helicopters. So that's speaking exactly what you're talking about. Like, all the pilots are not available all the time. So it's mix and match.
It would be interesting to see what they mean by employ. Like, are they 1099 contractors? Are they straight up W-2? Like, are they full-time on the payroll? I don't know enough about this type of business to know that. My guess is a lot of them are independent contractors, and that would be much better in terms of you being able to scale. Because what could make this business great or terrible is, what do my fixed costs look like, and can I scale them up or scale them down as I need to? And so, I mean, as I've dealt with more of these people that are like these small time private pilots or pilot instructors and stuff like that, like they're like in this perpetual hustle type thing. And I don't know if I told you this story. There's a guy here in San Antonio that, because he can make more money being a lawyer in Dallas, he owns a law firm in Dallas. Did I tell you this story or no?
No, and he just wants to live in a lower cost area in San Antonio?
Well, so people want to live in San Antonio. Your family's here.
Because it's awesome. I forgot.
And it's amazing. Like, I live here. Like, yeah, there you go. And, you know, and if like, I think about moving away permanently and I'm like, well, I miss all my friends, you know, and like, I like my activities. Do I want to get the heck out of here in July, August? Definitely. But the rest of the year, like, it's pretty amazing. And so this guy, what he does is, he has he owns his own plane. So he spent like $500,000 on this plane. It's a twin engine plane. He cannot fly it. But what he does is he has it parked at the little teaching airport here. And he hires the instructors to load him up on his plane, 6 a.m. on Monday morning. They fly him up to Dallas, to the little airport near his office. He gets in his car that he has parked there and he drives to his office. He stays in his apartment that he has there until Thursday night. Thursday night, the instructor, who has by then brought the plane back here to its hangar, then flies up there, takes 35 minutes in the twin engine plane, picks the guy up and brings him back. And like, okay, yeah, is that good for the environment? Not really. Is it freaking awesome though? Yeah, it is totally awesome. But like, so let's dig into who the little pilot is. The pilot is a guy who's older than us. He's in his early 60s. He's an instructor. He wants to pick up hours, and like, he's happy to fly up there, get paid to do what he does, and what he loves, and get paid $100 an hour to fly this plane up and get this guy safely back and forth from here to Dallas. And it's a good trade for the Dallas lawyer guy, because he can charge double there what he charges in San Antonio, if he can even do that kind of work, because there's some work that only happens in the really big markets. So yeah, it's just, but like that person, like that instructor, he does this kind of charter operation. He flies for other charter operations. He like teaches lessons. Like, he's just picking up hours wherever he can to sell his time.
Sort of. Yeah. And that's when I did the Vegas thing, I was talking to the woman who was flying us, and that's what she said. She was former military. She was former military helicopter pilot. And she did this like, you know, in part-time. Yeah. Just pick up doors. It was like, you got the sense she was like half asleep. This was like the most boring thing she had ever done, is shuttle me and my wife to the Hoover Dam and back. She's like, nobody's shooting missiles at me. This is fine.
The time I actually did the train, like the exploratory, the Discovery flight, I did one up in Bentonville, Arkansas. And like, my instructor, so it's a 30-year-old plane. My instructor was like a 22-year-old young man. And then he brought along a lady. I was like, oh, who's this? And he's like, oh, she's a trainee instructor. And I discover later she's 19 years old. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, at least you guys won't have heart attacks while you're flying me around. Like, but yeah, this kid was just, he was an instructor. He's just trying to get enough hours to get his whatever Part 42 or whatever the license is, so he could go fly for one of the airlines. That was his dream. Yeah.
You know, so I also wonder, you know, I don't know if helicopter pilots fall into the huge shortage of trade professionals, you know, plumbers, etc. But if you don't have pilots, you're up creek. If this, you know, you're this business. And I imagine the pilots probably have a lot of power about which company they work for. So I'd want to understand the employment dynamics of how I pay these pilots. Are they W-2? How much do they make? Do they hop around all the time, or are my pilots pretty loyal, etc.?
Yeah, ultimately, I think two things about this business as we kind of wrap up on it. Like, number one, like, I think it would be a fascinating and super fun like management call, because these are the types of ones where you're just like, oh, how does this work? Okay, how does this work? You know, like, and for those of you who listen to the podcast, that in my opinion is the fastest way to learn about how a market like this works. Go do like 10 calls with sellers and ask them everything about like the helicopter charter thing. And after 10 calls with people who've been in the business for 20 years and them selling you their business, you will know more than any like journalist or expert. Like, it's the fastest path to do it. Maybe it'll be my hobby when I retire.
Just interview people.
Just interview people with their business for sale. And they do it under NDA, so it's like, it wouldn't make a good podcast, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I think the second thing about this deal is I think it has an opportunity to actually be a good business if there is some sort of limitation to supply, some sort of moats here, competitive moats, other than like we just got lucky with our blade contract. And that's what kind of worries me. So I would really want to understand what are the competitive advantages that keep some other chump from buying a helicopter and competing with you. Like, is it scale? Is it how you're getting deals? Is it brand in the market? Are you safer than the other people? Can you do bigger transport? Or are you more on time? Like, what is it about this business that just doesn't make it a red ocean? And otherwise, it would worry me that these numbers, which are not that aggressive for growth. I mean, they grew 130% and now they're predicting 10% growth. Like, when you see a seller do that, you're like, wait a second, like what do you know that you haven't said here in the teaser? Like, I would want to find out kind of the dynamics of that stuff. So anyway, I think I did a good job of not pooping on this deal. I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, I kind of like it too. It's interesting too. So it operates in the Northeast. It doesn't explicitly say New York, does it? It just says the Hamptons, Atlantic City, Boston, DC, and Philadelphia.
Down in the geography, they list New York State, but they list it alongside New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and some others.
So I wonder if there is something about New York City, because there's always something about New York City, with the unions and the regulation and how they feel they have their own practical laws. Like, I wonder if these guys aren't licensed to land in New York or fly over New York or who knows what. Like, I wonder if there's something to understand there as well, as far as what geographies, not just New York, but in general, what geographies can we operate it in? What does it mean to expand into a new geography? Do I need a license? Do I need whatever it might be? And in some cases, it's probably good if it's a huge pain in the ass to expand in a new geography, because it means it's a huge pain in the ass to expand into your geography, that you're already in, the competition. So I would definitely want to understand about that if I want to make this a bigger business.
Look, and I think you talk about markets that you want to be in the United States. If you wanted to do helicopter transport, you want to do it in the densest, most crowded part of America with the most money per capita. Like, yeah, you want to be in, you want to be in the tri-state region. So I love that aspect of it as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody should go buy this and then come pick me up.
Well, let's talk about buying it, right? So it's 5 million in 2022 EBITDA. They think it's 6.6 million in this year's EBITDA. So kind of in the middle, it's 5.8, say, of EBITDA. It's got 32% EBITDA margins. I assume some helicopters are going to come with this, and they're not going to make me buy the 6 helicopters extra. But 6 helicopters, not worth nothing, but you also can't have a business without them.
Helicopters are as stupid simple as like a Cessna is, which is just like a couch with some wings and a naturally aspirated engine. Like, helicopters are these incredibly complex machines. Like, that's why it took us another 40 odd years to figure out how to do helicopters right, past when the Wright brothers flew. Like, these are some serious ass machines that, all that gearing and how they do stuff and jet turbines, like it's a serious deal.
Yep. So, I imagine do you think this gets valued just like a normal business and you get the helicopters as working capital, or do you think that you got to pay for the helicopters separate?
I bet you, I think EBITDA is a real misnomer for this business, because D&A are like a huge expense to maintain those helicopters that they own. So I think that's the first place that this would get valued, is based on, free cash flow as opposed to EBITDA, just because like, it's not like depreciation and amortization are free here. You're having to spend them every year to make sure those helicopters don't fall out of the sky. So I think it would then get I would guess it would get valued based on a multiple just of that SDE. That's how I would do it.
Thank you for saying Mills's line about CapEx being a real expense, even though he's not here with us today. Yeah, I mean, I think this business is absolutely saleable.
Yep.
I wonder, do you think this sells to a strategic as an add-on, or do you think like just to buy the routes essentially, or to buy the brand? Because I would think there's a ton of synergies. I mean, they say they got 51 employees and only 17 of them are pilots, right? So the rest is booking and admin and maintenance and all that stuff, right? Which I would think scales incredibly well.
For sure. Well, and then facility, they probably either own or lease a hangar facility somewhere in the tri-state area, Teterboro or something like that. Those are all Those are all likely. That's when you know somebody's a real baller, when they're like, yeah, I got to drive to Teterboro.
Yeah, as soon as they say Teterboro, it's like saying you go to school in Boston. It's like code.
It's like code for how I'm bad. For those of you that don't know, that is the closest private general aviation airport to Midtown Manhattan. So Teterboro, if you're going to be, so basically, yeah, if you're a real baller, you don't go JFK to LA, Bill. That's for pedestrians. The real ballers, they go Teterboro to Van Nuys. That's how you get from New York to LA. 2 airports I've never been to.
Same. Same. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I feel like there is probably an established market for these, an EBITDA multiple that I'm not privy to. And that's the only thing that's tough as a professional in whatever industry you're dealing with an Axial deal, is that the Axial deals are more sophisticated, so they don't have asking prices. So you just got to bid.
100%. Well, and this is right down the middle of the fairway for the why am I the lucky buyer answer. And why I'm the lucky buyer may be like you're willing to do some pain in the butt stuff that other people aren't, or it may be that you're just an idiot who's overpaying. So those are some answers to why you're the lucky buyer.
Right.
But I think that's my favorite question, top to bottom, in any deal I'm doing. It's like, why am I the lucky buyer here? And I think that's something I would consider. When I'm in a call with the seller, I'm not above asking, like, who else has looked at this deal? Why has everybody else passed on it? Why aren't the strategics buying this? Surely your helicopters and staff has some value. Like, why are you talking to some chumps that don't know anything about aviation? That's also a good way to maybe get them not to take me seriously. But it's true. I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna lie to them. Yeah,
like you haven't already called all the other helicopter companies in these geographies, and why'd they all pass?
Yeah, why'd they all pass? Tell me why.
Yep. Yeah, I like this one though. I think this is, this sort of reminds me of again, like another classic holdco company where, the demand for this isn't going anywhere until they invent actual teleporters. This business is going to be around. Helicopter private transportation is going to be around.
Yeah, I think I saw at one point Tiny Capital bought a like an emergency transport company, and it was on their website for a while, and then it's disappeared. So I don't know what happened to it, but I remember seeing it on their website as like a random business there. That's
a totally different episode. I have looked at those before.
Man, I hope our offer we're making in our previous episode comes through. That makes some good stuff. I'm ready to get on a plane to go do the diligence on that. Hope Mills comes
that
through.
Is about as opposite from private helicopter charter as there possibly could be, is worm farming, if you listen to our other episode.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I think the future of this podcast is we all go in and buy something.
Something super unsexy like a worm farm.
The worm farm is sexually unsexy. That's what I love about it.
Especially. Yes, I agree.
I had a good point about this and I totally forgot it. Oh man. Anyway.
Anyway, tune in next week. By then, Michael might have remembered.
I remember what's going on. Get over all my problems. Yeah, I'm sure I'll remember it. Yeah. Okay. Well, great job today, man.
All right. This was a good one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.